Okay, so please take note that this PowerPoint, it also came in your module in your elements. Okay, so our learning objectives here is to define the National Internal Revenue Code, to identify the government agencies who administer the tax, our tax, to explain the government officials who are in charge of the tax administration, and to explain the powers and authority of the BIR Commissioner. So what is our National Internal Revenue Code, or the NIRC of 1997? The National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 is also known as the Tax Reform Act of 1997. This Republic Act, or the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997, it talks about the national taxes which imposed and exercised by the national government, which is the BIR, that governs and impose the collection of the following national internal revenue taxes. And what are those national internal revenue taxes to be collected by the Bureau of Internal Revenue, which is the authorized government agency to exercise this kind of taxation power? So what are those? The part of the NIRC of 1997, we have the income tax, of course, the estate tax. Oh, by the way, so what's the income tax? It talks about the income tax on individuals and corporation, that for whatever income which they declare, that is subject to income tax. The estate and donors tax is a form of a transfer tax. What the difference is, the estate tax is the transfer of the properties at the time of the death of the decedent to their legal heirs, and the donors tax is a transfer property as a gift or donation of a donor to the donee. Also, the value-added tax are which are indirect taxes, which the tax burden is transferred to other taxpayers together with the percentage tax. Excise tax, those are the tax that we use to charge to the commodities to reduce the consumption or the demand in it. And even the documentary stamp tax are the taxes which a stamp under the authorized of the BIR to post it on the public documents. Okay, so those taxes which are part of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997, this is the national tax which is governed by the BIR, or the Bureau of Internal Revenue, to exercise the taxation power when it comes to collection of those taxes to the taxpayers. So who are the government offices or agencies that handle the tax administrative functions? So we have the Department of Finance under the Secretary Carlo Dominguez III, and also under the Department of Finance are also the government agencies for the tax administrative functions. We have the BIR, the Bureau of Customs, and the Land Transportation Commission. So the Bureau of Internal Revenue, as I had said, they are in charge for the taxation power of collecting the national internal revenue taxes, while the Bureau of Customs are the government agency who was in charge for the exercising taxation power of the custom duties and tariff taxes, while the Land Transportation Commission, or the LTC, are the government agency that is in charge to exercise their taxation power on the public transport of, and also the franchising of the public utility vehicles. Okay, so from those three, we have also the tax administration that based on their territorial jurisdiction or the scope. So of course, the Department of Finance, of course, this is the principal office of those three government agencies for the responsible for administering, supervising of all matters and issues which is related to the taxation or the taxation power. So who are the government officials that administer and enforce tax administrative functions? So these are the government officials under those government agencies. We have the Secretary of Finance, which is Carlo Dominguez III, that administer all the tax rules on and procedures, and even the assessment and collection of taxes. Under the Secretary of Finance was also the Commissioner of the Internal Revenue and the Bureau of Customs. So the Commissioner of Internal Revenue, it was Cesar Dulay. Okay, it was Cesar Dulay. which is the BIR, our BIR commissioner that also facilitates the regulations of collecting taxes under the tax law for to all taxpayers. And the commissioner of customs is, if I'm not mistaken, that's Nicanor Paeldon. If still if he is still the commissioner in charge for the tariff taxes and the custom duties of the importation and exportation of the commodities. And also the preceding justice and associate justice of the Court of Tax Appeals are also the government officials, where their responsibility are if there are taxpayers who file an appeal for the tax cases, so they are the one to investigate and to give jurisdiction to to make a final decision whether the taxpayer is guilty of a tax case or not. And then the deputy commissioner of the BIR. So this is the deputy commissioners are the assistants of the BIR commissioner, Cesar Dulay, the deputy commissioner on the departments of the BIR in the HR, IT, legal, and finance. And also the regional directors and regional district officers of the BIR, because in the BIR has the following revenue district office or the extended office and the head office in Diliman, Quezon City. So for every revenue district office, there are also located a group of taxpayers where their business are located. So there should be the purpose of the RDO is to the one to collect taxes of the taxpayer from their scope of location. So we have also the regional directors, the head of the revenue district offices, and even the officers. And also the provincial, city, and municipal treasurers. Well, these government officials are responsible for the local taxes, particularly the community tax or the cedula tax, because the cedula tax was printed by the BIR to collect the poll tax or community tax. So for whatever the proceeds of those community tax, it is there is a proportionate share of the BIR to it to cover up the cost of printing of the cedula tax or the community tax. And the examiners and the collection agents of the BIR and the BIR Customs, so the collection agents are the one to assess the computation of the taxable income and the income subject to tax, while the examiners is the back end that after the taxpayers are already filed their taxes and paying for the taxes, the examiner is the back end to review all the taxes paid by the taxpayer and subject for tax mapping in order to review all the books if the taxpayer declared the right amount of income and the tax which they paid. Of course, as I had said, the government agency is one of the government agency who is in charge for the tax administration was the BIR. They are the one who exercise the taxation power of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997. Okay, so what are those powers and duties of the BIR? Of course, to assess and collect all the national internal revenue taxes, fees, and charges, if any, or in case that the taxpayer commit delinquent in paying their taxes. Also, the BIR also enforce the forfeiture, fines, and penalties for those taxpayers who are not complied to file and pay for the taxes at the right time. And also to decide in all cases decided by the favor of the Court of Tax Appeals and also the ordinary courts, and to take effect and administer and supervise their police power to confer it by the tax code. When we say police power, the power to protect the welfare of the people. Okay, so another is that the BIR also protect the taxpayers, okay, from the protect the people or the welfare of the society from those people who are not paying for the taxes. So look at this. So this is the officials of the BIR. So they have also the chief officials and the other officials. So the chief officials, these are located in the BIR head office in Diliman, Quezon City. So they have also the BIR commissioner and also the 4 deputy commissioners and the extended offices, okay, We have the other officials in the revenue regional directors, officers, revenue examiners and officers, even the division chiefs of the BIR, and collection agents. Okay, so what are the powers? What are the powers and duties of the BIR commissioner? So the power and duties of the BIR commissioner, they are also the power to interpret the tax laws or to administer the tax law which they interpreted, and to decide, to make decisions on the tax cases also as part of the judge of the Court of Tax Appeals. The BIR commissioner also has the power to obtain information, to summon and examine all the testimony of the persons of the tax cases, the power to make assessments and prescribe additional requirements for the tax administration and enforcement. So the BIR commissioner has also the approval of the assessments of the collection agents in case of centralization, okay, in case of some cases, and authority to delegate the powers. But please take note that not all the part of the BIR commissioner must not delegate some of the powers, and authority to compromise, abate, and refund or to credit the tax. And also, what are those powers of the BIR commissioner that cannot be delegated or transfer? Of course, the power to recommend the promulgation of the rules and regulations by the Secretary of Finance. He cannot delegate it to the other commissioners, only him or her. The power to issue the rulings of first impression and reverse, revoke, modify, or modify the existing rulings of the BIR. So they cannot delegate that. Only the BIR commissioner has the power to do that. Example, in times of pandemic. So since we experienced a suffered last year, so the BIR commissioner amend the rulings of the extension of filing of the ITR and holding of the penalties for those taxpayers who are not paying the tax on time because of pandemic. And also the of course, that's a number 2 that can be delegated. The power to compromise or abate any tax liability, they cannot be delegated because only the BIR commissioner can compromise or change or give some consideration when it comes to tax liability of the taxpayers. And the power to assign or reassign internal revenue offices to establishments where their articles are subject to excise tax, are produced or kept. So that will be our topic for today when it comes to the module 1 and week 1 about the overview of the powers and authority of the BIR commissioner.